Happy Friday afternoon, everybody. It's 3 o'clock, and we're at the LSI Labs. I'm Chris Gabrelcik, the CEO for Lubrication Specialties. Our brand name is Hotshot Secret, which most of you know us as Hotshot Secret. The main company is actually LSI, or Lubrication Specialties. And today we're filming from the lab. We wanted to show you a test that we've been running on our gun oil. It was kind of fun, so we thought we would share it with you. But before I get started on that, we wanted you to know there is a web special, and it is a winter special for $99, 1 quart of stiction eliminator, which will remove all the stiction inside a diesel or gas engine, 16 ounces of diesel extreme, which is only for diesel, we don't want to put that in gas, and then 5 16-ounce diesel winter anide gels, which we call DWAG. Marketing loves it when we do that. So the winter anide gels to keep your diesel fuel from gelling up. It's really important to get it in there, whether you're going to be running the tractor or your truck at all, because when you do go to run it, it's better if it had been in there and had time to modify the wax ahead. Also, we want to do a dealer update. 68 Car Care in Sweetwater, Tennessee. Welcome and thank you. Welcome to the LSI family. We're glad that you're selling our products and giving us a chance. Hopefully everybody will be buying it from you and you'll be happy with it. We're also excited to welcome some new partners in Canada, our neighbors to the north. On the Knoll Custom Diesel in Manitoba, Canada. Taylor Diesel Performance in Alberta, Canada. Elk Point Tire in Alberta, Canada. So those are 3 new dealers, and hopefully you'll get a chance to go up and buy some product from them. In a moment, we're going to do a test on gun oils, and I've got Aaron in the lab here working with me. He's going to assist. But before we do that, Kyle, why don't you give him a little view of the lab, show him some of the other things that we work on.
Anyone get a tour?
Sure. We have chemicals. It's our viscometer. As archaic as it sounds, viscosity is just a measure of the rate of flow. And we have a sample in there, pull it up to the top line, start the timer, and when it gets to the bottom line, that is the viscosity after you do a small measurement to get to the correct.
Just do a quick one.
Messes. A lot of things in progress.
You know, you have to break a lot of eggs if you want to make an omelet. So we break a lot of eggs here. You can see some of the engine parts that we work with and some of the particle testers, filtering things.
Don't want to show your formulas up there. Keep it down. Here's the motors we love to burn out.
Yes.
And this is
Or don't burn.
This is a filtering unit that we're working on building for tracks to be able to pull oil out of your race car or a regular fleet car, filter it and put it back in if it's still good. That's good. And now we're going to get started on our gun oil test. One of the questions that we've gotten a lot is why is Hotshot Secret building a gun oil when it's not really a car product? And that's a fair question. As we develop chemistries and we do experiments, we find ancillary places where they could be useful. And when we're working on the FR3 technology, we realized that this had a really good place in guns. One, because it's a Group 5 ester. There's actually 2 Group 5 esters in there, and they have a really low pour point. The other thing is they burn really clean. They don't leave any residue behind. And then the other thing is the nanocarbon we're using really helps the inside to become lubricated to a higher level than anything else we've ever tried, tested, or could even get our hands on. So we put those together and we tweaked the formula a little bit so that it would work even better for guns. And the goal was to be able to have a gun oil that you could use in the middle of the desert or use it in a mountain at 0 degrees. So the test we're going to do is we're going to burn a couple different gun oils and see what the residue behind is and what the smoke looks like. And you can go ahead and get started, Aaron. Let's show them. We'll do the Remington oil. Stay on fire to get it hot enough that it starts to flame. And then we're gonna, while that starts to burn off, we'll go ahead and move over to the Lucas gun. As you can imagine, this smells really good. So you could use this as a scented candle if you want. Visit that one again. And then we're going to do the Hot Shot Secret bore in action. Give it some more. And then hit the LSI one up again. They're not staying going.
Eric Surdy says, what are we doing here?
We are burning gun oils to look at the residue that's left behind and to show the color of the smoke. Go ahead, Aaron, keep burning. I don't know if the camera's picking it up well, but one of the things that you can notice is the black smoke coming off. It's easy to see on the video, but if you're right here in person, you could see it. And we're going to let it burn for a little bit, then look at the residue left behind, and we're going to pour out what's left onto an oil diaper and see how that looks, but we're gonna have to give that a few minutes to cool down. So one of the things that we do here with all of our products is we start off with some basic tests and then we send them out to people to use. And in this case, we send out our gun oil to professional shooters and we send out to a SWAT team and ask them to evaluate it and tell us what they thought about it. And everybody came back with really high marks saying that the product worked really well. Better than anything they had used before. So we knew we were onto something. We worked on the formula a little bit more until we came up with what we thought was the best version of a gun oil that could ever be made. And that's what we're looking at now. So as soon as this cools down a little bit, we'll tip them over so we don't burn our fingers, and that's not good. Although that might go viral when we see Aaron running around with burnt fingers, but we'll give it a minute to cool down and show you what it looks like. In the meantime, Aaron, is there anything else you could tell us about the gun oil that I didn't capture?
You hit it all.
I got it all? I'm that good.
You are.
Also this week, while we're letting that cool down, we did have our LSI Christmas party, and it was a great time. We had close to 150 people here with a band. The ballroom has all been decorated with Christmas trees and lights, and we want to thank all the help that got us to that point. It was a good time to be had by everybody. And in case we forget to mention towards the end of the Facebook live feed, we want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a great new year. Hopefully 2019 will be a good year for everybody. Aaron's going to give us a couple temperature points on these just so we can get an idea, see if anything can be gained.
I don't want to touch that.
What is it?
292 degrees, 295.
What are the other ones? 295?
David Sanders says he needs some of that stuff too. He says corrosion protection, question mark.
Good question.
I'm thinking Dave Sanders. There would be a level of corrosion protection from the standpoint of the nanocarbon and the esters will get into the little tiny folds and asperities of the steel. But as far as an actual, like a corrosion protection product like zinc We did not put that in there because in a burning atmosphere, corrosion protection additives would leave behind a residue. And I think the goal here is to have a really clean product. So if we did add an anti-corrosive specific additive to it, it would most likely leave behind a residue. We'll try it. We might experiment with that next week, but by and large, that wouldn't be the direction to go. The oil and the nanocarbon will seal everything off, so you should not have corrosion in a normal environment. Where that would not hold up is like salt water. So if I took a gun and dipped it in salt water, it would probably start to work its way underneath there. That's where like an anti-corrosive would really come into play. But if you clean your gun and put it in a closet, you'll not have a problem. You're not going to get that level of corrosion from it. So we're going to pour out the hoppies and just see what was left behind. And the Hot Shot Secret. Is there anything left there?
A little bit.
I've got to tell you, earlier when we did this test, those other ones were a lot blacker than they look now. But out of the four, if you look at the Remington oil, we have the most carbon built up here. On the Lucas, it's not as burnt up. There's a little bit of red coloring. It looks like they must put dye in it. Ours is primarily clear, and then on the hoppies, we can see a little bit darkening of the color. Just to get let's just get a gauge on where that would have been beforehand. So you can see we went from water white to a darker brown. So you can see the oxidation take place there. That'll give you some gauge on how that went. The next step is we're going to send out the boron action for an oxidation test just to see where does it fit in comparison with everything else. I believe it will have an extremely high oxidation point. Again, we're trying to shoot for the best of the best with our products. So we went for the best oil as opposed to other companies that would try to make it the most reasonably priced. I don't want to say the cheapest that they could do it, but they would definitely go on the lower end of things. You know, because they're primarily looking to make more money. How about show us the dishes also? Can we get a side view of some of the?
They're warm.
Yeah, they are warm. Put those up on the white. So you can see the buildup around here that we're getting, and the more we burn it, the more that becomes apparent.
I believe I mixed those two up.
Did you mix those two up?
Sure think so.
I think these two are backwards. Okay. So that's the gun oil test so far. We're going to try to work on that some more and see if we can perfect it. Come up with a better way to add a little bit more science to it. One of the other things that we were talking about is the evolution of our bottles over the years. When we first started, we were not as sophisticated as we are today. You can see some of our original labels and then the progression that we've gone through. And I think that's about all we've got going on this week. Again, I wanted to talk about our winter special that's running right now for $99. We've got a quart of Stiction Eliminator, 16-ounce bottle of Diesel Extreme, and 5 16-ounce bottles of Diesel Winter Anti-Gel. And for everybody, have a great Christmas and a great New Year. Send us your comments or anything you'd like to see us work on in the lab. We'll be glad to put it on next week's episode. Have a great weekend, everybody.